Hey guys, and welcome to AccessEuphoria with me, Johnny, and this is a Football Manager 2019 help and sort of guide episode, which is centered around, well, one of my favourite subjects and one of my favourite things that I enjoy to do in my FM19 series. You may have seen my previous ones, but I try and do this every year, especially for the new players that might not have actually tried this themselves, but this is the best way to scout all the best regens or new gens, however you prefer to talk about them, in Football Manager 2019. There's a few different ways that you can do it, the kind of comprehensive way and the sort of quicker ways if you don't have big scouting budgets and staff and all that kind of jazz. So I'm going to go through each one of them now, so hopefully you're going to enjoy it. If you do, please smash that like button. But without further ado, let's get into the best ways to scout those regens. Here we are then, guys. We're into a save that I did, which was an experiment. It was going up to 100 years in the future, and this is the point where we're at 2076. I've done a part 1 on this, so if that's kind of your thing, you want to see what's happened in this ulterior world, go check that episode out. Part 2, which is 100 years, that'll be out in a little while. I've just obviously to put on the back burner while I've done a few other tasks, but that will be coming out soon, so check that out. But that's the save I'm using just because if I use the Leeds one, there might be spoilers in it for people, and obviously I've just started a new main save, which will be out on Monday, so I've done like the first episode or so on that. Again, if I show that, spoilers. So this one is what we're using. Now, I'll just put a manager in, we've just gone with Arsenal, because it was top of the list of it. No real reasons for it. You can do these tips with any team on Football Manager 2019. Now, you're able to do it in different ways. Obviously, if you're a top team like an Arsenal, top of the Premier League, Barcelona, Real, PSG, all that kind of stuff, you're going to be able to do some of these better than others. But you can still do all three kind of ways I'm going to show you. Now, there's different ways of doing it, but the main three I'm going to show you. Now, the most comprehensive I'll show you last. Number 3. That's the method I generally use in most of my series, especially early doors, until we can get that big conveyor belt of regen talent streaming through the doors at our club. And if you see my series, you can see how good that is for your team, basically. Finances as well as anything. But number 1 is kind of the easy method of doing things. And that is basically letting your scouts scout you some players. Now, obviously, you're wanting to sort of set up your scouts. So depending on, obviously, your kind of club that you're at, you're going to have more or less scouts. So at a low league, a League 2, let's say, you're probably going to have a few scouts. They're probably not going to be brilliant, but you've got a few scouts. A small team, like we started with Midtjylland, we didn't have tons there. Obviously, if you're taking over like an Arsenal, Barcelona, or whatever, a Man City, you're going to have a lot of scouts at your disposal, so you can do more with it. And that's the main difference, but the actual what you're going to do with it is the same. Now, the way to get your scouts to do it, and this is not really a way I generally prefer doing it, I kind of take more manual control in the next 2 methods that I'll show you. They're the ways I generally use, but this is one that you can use. A lot of people do use it, and especially if you're kind of new to the game, it's probably a nice way to get started. Now, you can sort of basically go on Hot Prospect, or you can just sort of do it yourself. I'd probably suggest doing it yourself. Now, if you're looking for particular positions, this is where you can sort of say, oh, I need a Hot Prospect super amazing regen striker. So you could choose that. You could even choose the role and advance forward or anything like that. Or if you just want a general one, you can leave it there. You could also find a similar player to whoever and pop that in there. Again, you'd use this for you looking for your first team players as well. And if I ever did use this, it's more usually for first team players. I used it a little bit on FC Midtjylland towards the end of that save, where I just kind of wanted to get that Champions League win. So I use this a bit to try and find me some first team players. I think it found me a couple of ones we actually signed. A few of the others actually just went to like national teams and scouted all the best players. But this is a good way for that. Now for regens, you can just basically leave most of this blank. That's my kind of personal sort of take on it, unless you want specific bits. Go to condition and then hit age, and you want is at most, but obviously it goes in at 33. Knock that down to about 18, I'd say. Now you can get some regens that come in especially early into a save that are older than that, but they're kind of backfilling squads that are a bit depleted generally, and they're generally not the best of players. The ones you really want are the kind of ones that you can mould. You also want them young, because you're going to have to get them to be most of the leagues, it's before the 21st birthday. They've got to play about 3 seasons to get them homegrown. So again, you want them young. If you're getting like a 19-year-old, you're not really going to be able to achieve that with them. You want 16, 17, 18, and you can at least get them in a club, get them homegrown, and that maybe helps against your qualifications, and your squad registration places. So I'd say at most 18. If you want to set a particular scout, obviously you can do that, or you can just leave it to it. I just say literally ongoing, because you just want this to be an ongoing cycle, pretty much constantly. You can set the scope of it. That'll depend on your sort of range. Now, for me, the current ability, not really bothered, because they're probably going to be pretty rubbish. A lot of them. Now, you might get some regions that are just really good. Some come in at really, really good levels, and obviously have bank's potential. But a lot of them generally start pretty poor. So the potential ability is what you want. I'd say is at least superb. In the old star ratings of that, I think that's about 4 stars, and then 4.5 and 5 stars for star players. So I'd probably say at least a superb player, if not better. And at least, because I think 4-star players, like some 3-star players are going to be brilliant for you. But I try and set my bar pretty high. So I personally say go for 4-star / superb and higher, max 18 years old. The rest of it I just leave as it is, like I say, unless you're wanting specific ones. Like you could set one up for strikers, for wingers, for defenders, and just literally scout the positions you use maybe. That way you won't get a winger if you don't play wingers, or you won't get loads of defensive midfielders if you don't play defensive midfield, and so on and so forth. That could be a way of doing it as well. But that's the first way, guys, of doing it. That's kind of like your standard get sort of set up and get into it. Now, the first way that I generally do it, and this is the way I do if I'm at a club that doesn't have a huge budget or a lot of scouts. This is a kind of manual, do-it-yourself kind of way of scouting. And the way I do this is we just take a given league. For example, we go to West Ham in this league. So what I'll do is, for example, I'll just go to the little world icon and I'll cycle through all the leagues. Like I generally, to get the best out of it, you need a lot of leagues loaded. So, and especially leagues that are good for players. You need your Brazils, your Argentinas, you get a lot of good players from there. Your Czech Republic, I find a lot of good players come from there, especially cheap players. Croatia can get quite a few. Obviously, your big nations, your Germany, France, Spain, Italy, your Holland, obviously England and Scotland. But just, I generally try and plough it full of as many leagues as possible that are playable, or if not, at least few only. Just because the more you have there, the more regens are going to come into this save, basically, and the pool for players for you to find. Because you've got to remember, a lot of these are going to get picked up by bigger clubs than probably what you are at, or at least on your level if you're a big club, and so you're not going to be able to get every one of them. But what I do then is I go through. So let's say if I'm running, if I was in England, I might then go, right, I'm going to have a look at, we'll just go from here. We'll go Scotland first. We'll try Scotland. So we might go to Ladbrokes Premier League. I'll click on Aberdeen, which is just because they're at the top of the league. On the overview screen for the club, you've then got key player and hot prospect player. You can see them just there. And if you're early into a save, you're probably going to find the key players, and these guys are all real players. And so they're not regens, they're not going to be young players for you. So for those regens, you want to look for the hot prospect. Now, they're not always, again, especially early in a save. Once you get like 3-4 years into it, they're pretty much all regens by that point. All the real players have generally moved on. They're out of that kind of age bracket to be classed as a hot prospect. But for the first few years, you might have a mix of some real and some regen. But if you see a club with a regen player, you just click on them, you're on their profile, you hit scout player, and off you go. Now, the way to make this a lot easier for yourself, because if you just leave it as default, you've then, that scouted player, also you need to add to a shortlist. However, a little quick tip for you, if you go to staff, and then go to responsibilities, and then the personal assistant, this little bit here, transfers. When you scout a player, add them to the shortlist. It's set as default to don't shortlist, which means you have to do things twice. But if you set that to indefinitely, when you hit scout, they're on your shortlist. And then if the scout report's rubbish, you can just manually remove them. Removing them is a lot quicker than going scout, add to shortlist, scout, add to shortlist for every player. It's just easier if it's done instantly for you. Now, I also tend to get when you scout a player, get them to do it for 2 weeks rather than 1 week, just because you get to see a little bit more and you can make a bit better of an informed decision. Now, again, if you're struggling, you could just put it to get a report card only. which basically is like 1 match or 1 week. Or if you've got not scouting very many, you could put it to 3 matches or 3 months or a month or whatever. It's your preference, but I personally go 2 weeks and indefinitely. So that's that little bit. Hit confirm. That'll help you out big time. So that one's done now. So like I said, you've hit that player. You then just hit the little arrows by the club and you go to the next club. And oh look, another regen. So you click on them, hit scout, and literally you just go back, next club, Lewis Brown. It will be a bit slow loading here because it's got, obviously it's so far in the future. Hit scouting, anyway, he's wanted by a club on loan. Next club again, we're at Celtic, Paul Morrison, scout him. Next club, you're not even looking at these players, you're just literally cycling through, because once you get the scout reports, you can look at them in more detail and see who are the ones you want to look at. That generally, the only thing I glance at is if they're wanted, like in this little area. If they're wanted by like Chelsea and Man City, I think, hello, that might be a player for me to check out, and that's why I'll kind of focus in on them. Now, sometimes you won't have the scout button here for whatever reason. I think it's generally if they've already been scouted a little bit, or I don't know. I don't know why exactly, but yeah, if it's not, you just obviously go on it. But so that's Ken Morris. So I say just keep moving through each one, click on them, scout, back, keep going, and that's it. It's super quick. And then you go to, so you could do then the Ladbrokes Championship. You could then move to Slovenia and you go to the, I mean, that's the 2nd division. The Slovenia First League. Now, I don't have much loaded on this because obviously it was a save to go in the future. But if you have lots of leagues loaded, you can just click to all those different leagues, click on one club, and then cycle through all those clubs. I do it for Brazil. I do basically that for every league that I have loaded. And it gets you, you'll probably end up with, I mean, if you imagine how many clubs are in each league, you could do maybe 2 or 3 divisions in each nation that you have loaded. Hundreds and hundreds of regens you've just got right there. Easy peasy. Now, it does maybe take you an hour, let's say, but if you do that every transfer window, you're killing it, man. You're killing it. Now, a lot of them might be the same player that you did last time, but in that case, you'll already see the scout bits at the top. You just move on, carry on, done, dusted. Now, that's that bit. The second bit I do, which is pretty much the same, but it's for national teams. So let's, for example, let's go to Slovenia national team, because we're already there. I go into them, and then I go to the under-19 squad, which, again, because we don't have them loaded, not really many players are showing, so we'll probably just go to England and Scotland and use them because they're loaded. So we'll go to England. So imagine, again, this will work for your nations you got loaded. Oh, it's so slow when you're so far in the future. So we've got, let's say, all these players here. Now, you can sort by their age, and then you could click on them, and let's say we want to do all of them. So you can click all of those players there, right-click, scout, and get scout report. Boom. They're all now getting scouted. They're also all on your shortlist. Easy peasy. You could go to under 20s as well and look and get players. And generally, I scout up to about 19. Sometimes I go older, but generally I just stick to about my 19s and then I scout them. So again, scout, done, dusted. Looking under 21s, there's a few in there as well. Up to 19, scout, get scout report, move on. Let's see if there's anyone in the full team. There's one at 20, so I probably would leave that. But it depends what you're looking for. If you just purely want young regens that you're going to conveyor belt up, then that's how you do it. Just look through each you've set up and sort of tiers, because remember, for some of the lesser nations like a Slovakia, Slovenia, or Croatia, you might find that a lot of these good regens will go pretty quickly into the first team. So don't miss out the first team. You'll find a lot in there. And it's just as quick as that. And once you've scouted them and they're on your shortlist, they're now lit up red. So when you come to do this in future, if they're still there, like if you're still maybe pondering about that player or scouting them, you don't click on them twice. You can see them right there. Easy peasy. And you can then again, just once you've done that, cycle through to the next one. Estonia, Faroe, Finland. You can do that for Europe. You can do that for, and all the little bits are here, North America, Oceania, South America. Again, that's probably going to get you thousands of regens just there. Again, it takes time, but if you put in the time, you'll get the results. And that's how I get my regens on my series. You might think, oh, how do you get so many regens? It's because I invest hours upon hours into doing all this sort of stuff every season. And that's how I get these results, basically. Especially good to start with when you don't have a lot of scouting budget or staff. Now, that is option number 2. The third and final, and pretty much the all-encompassing, do everything, all singing, dancing technique is this. Again, world icon, hit on the world tab, then go to transfers, which is the second one down, and then you'll have a little bit of a menu. So on this drop-down icon, go to youth intake at the bottom here. Now, you'll have this menu up here, which during the beta, I went to make this during the beta basically, and this little panel wasn't working. It wasn't working properly. They've actually fixed it now. I reported it as a bug. I only had a couple of bugs, but this was one of them, which was annoying because I was ready to make the video. But then, yeah, so you can cycle back through all the different years, and basically, they're your players. So what I generally do is every couple of months, when I'm doing this sort of type of save, when I'm cycling loads of regens, I'll go through. So imagine, let's say we're in May, and then we get to July. So I'll then go back to June, and these are all the regens that got taken into a youth intake. So you remember when you're at your club, you get that kind of youth intake every year. Well, that's constantly going on throughout the different leagues and nations around the world. That's constantly happening. So you can see here, all these players during June 2075 have joined these various clubs. And this looks like the French. So a lot of French teams here. And the best way literally for this is if you... There's two different ways really of doing this. The one I tend to use, because you used to be able to scout max of 500 at a time. And last year, annoyingly to me, because this is how I do my saves, they cut it down to 50. Don't know why. It doesn't really make sense, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't tell a scout, oh, you can only go and scout me 50 players, and then you've got to report back to me. You just say, right, go do all those nations. I want you to go around every club, looking at all their young players and the ones coming in, and let me know your best ones. Off you go. I'll see you in 10 years or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just go on, go and do it. You won't have to do 50 things at a time, but that's my little, annoyance. But anyway, so you can only do 50 at a time. So one option is to select 50. So if you hit the top one, so it goes red, and then on your shift key, you can scroll down and then hit shift, and you've now selected 38 in this instance, get scout report. Easy peasy. You could do that. Now, obviously, for how many nations you have, and in some months, like, let's say if we go to a busy one, let's get a busy one. Here, look at that. So we're going to have 1,735 regens to go through. That'll take you a long time, 50 at a time. Especially for a low league club, you're not going to be able to even attract most of these players. So the way I'd suggest doing it is if you right click, select all. You can't do it all, but you can do it in about 500 for these ones. So if you scroll down, get about 500, you can add to shortlist. So add them all to shortlist and keep going through. So again, we'll drop it down, shift click, another about 400, add them to the shortlist. We'll click there. We'll drag it down again. We'll add these. That's about another 300. So add these to the shortlist as well. And like I say, it does take a bit of time doing it this way. But you remember, you're doing this like every month or so. Some months are pretty quiet. The main ones are kind of March, April, May's, June's. They're really busy with ones. Because a lot of the European clubs, they fire lots out. Especially England. When it's England's, you get a ton. But they're now all added to my shortlist. So if I go to scouting, shortlist, they're all here. I've got 1,810 players. Obviously, remember some of them for the other ones we added. But not all of those players are going to join you. So a quick way you can do this is if you quickly just hit that interested in transfer tab. We've already lost about, 500 odd, almost 600 players. So if you'd scouted those 600 players, you might have gone, wow, they're amazing, but they're not going to join you. So why was the point in scouting them? And you wasted all that time in scouting them. So you can just come in here, cut that down. And then what I tend to do is I'll create a new shortlist, just let's say generic one, hit that, and we'll go back to our default, and I can now select all of these players. It will take a while, and then I can move them to generic one shortlist. I'm not going to do it because sometimes it takes absolutely ages and kills the computer. So they'll move on to there. Then when you untick this box, all the remaining players on here are all the ones that wouldn't join you. So you then select all, remove them from shortlist. You then go back to your other shortlist, move them back in here. It's a bit of a faff, but it's a quick way of just getting rid of 600 players like that. Boom, sorted. And then you then can go through all the ones you haven't already scouted, which you can see up to here. You can sort it by scouted if you want and all that kind of stuff. You can then just go through, selecting them all and scouting them all. It's an easier way of doing the big ones, but that is the way, going through the world transfer screen, you can see every player, every regen player that's come through, you can scout them up. And if you're quick about it, let's say if you did it every week, you'll find a lot of players that are still got a little tab to offer a contract. Now, generally within a few days to a couple of weeks, max. Most of those players will have signed a youth deal, so you won't be able to do that. But on some of them, if you're quick, you might be able to get in there, offer a contract before their club has, or whilst they're still offering it, and steal that player, sometimes for free. I've signed so many brilliant regens for free doing that, and you then turn them into a like £40 million striker, and you look back and think, wow, I got that player for nothing. And that's the beauty of how you do it. There are 3 best ways to scout your regens on Football Manager 2019. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode, going through the different methods. If there's any other different ways that you guys use, I'd love to hear those down in the comments. So please do get involved, guys. If you already use these ones, let me know what kind of success you're having on Football Manager 2019 with them. Are you finding loads of amazing regens? Is it harder this year? Is it easier than last year? Is there more regens? The big topic I also want to know for you guys is, what do you think about those regen faces this year? They look a little bit more comical, I think, than last year. But in terms of actually how they look, much better. I think last year they were dreadful. Last year was the worst year for how they looked regen-wise. This year, there seem to be more styles about them, more like hair and a bit cleaner. You know, they're not as like, they were really like kind of like basic. They were so like, even the graphic of them were just so janky and rubbish. Let me know your thoughts though. I'd love to hear that down below, because it's always a big contention point of actually how they look and stuff. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please smash that like button. If you think anyone else might like it, please subscribe it, share it out rather, on Facebooks, on Twitters, and all that kind of good stuff. And if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, and my channel of where I kind of put this into action with where it might be Leeds, AIK we've done previously, Midland we did last year, and I've got a save coming up starting Monday. I'm not going to release who it is yet until Monday, so if you're looking at this future, you'll probably already know. But if not, I don't want to give it away just yet. So check that out on Monday, and I'll put all this into action in a save. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.